This is an extension of the DevExpress controls for DockShell. So in the previous video, we basically had employee list details showing up in the employee list docking area, and we had these two screens showing up here. And so what we're going to do now is we'll quickly change this. So maybe perhaps the first thing we'll do is we'll change this to be a modal screen. So right now it's a dockable screen that sits in the docking area of this particular docking area. So let's just run that and see what it looks like. And so when it comes up, you can see that it has the three tabs. If you didn't watch the previous video, this is actually hardwired. This tab is hardwired inside the shell itself. So this is the shell, the default shell that we're using for DevExpress. And it has the two screens for the home, and under employees it has the employee screen. So if we launch the employee screen right now, and what we'll see is the employee list detail screen coming up. And as you can see, it's in a non-shared area, so it's in its own docking area. And we're going to change that in this video. And so let's do that. Well, first of all, what we'll do is we'll change this screen. So instead of it being a docked window as it is right now, so this is a document docked window. So you can, take it and drag it around and do all sorts of things, and redock it. So if I, for example, dock it here, and I could float it and do all sorts of things. But let's say what I want to do is instead of it having, being like this tied to the docking area, I'm going to basically untie it from the docking area, and I'm going to make it a modal screen. And you could use this modal screen for other things within your application. So you can reuse standard LightSwitch screens to be able to put whatever you want in there. Okay, and so let's do that. So we'll just close the app down, and we'll take a look at how to do that. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is let's delete this link here, and what we'll do is we'll add a single view layout from our toolbox and put that right about there. We can keep the old view around. We might want to revert back to it perhaps. Okay, so then let's change this, and we'll call this one employee list modal. Sounds good. And so it defaults to being modal. Let's put the some kind of a title on here. So we'll say employee list detail. And let's see. So just make it, let's say, 500 in height and a width of, let's say, 600. So a fairly large screen. And I think that's about it, other than we just need to link. So if you've watched any of the other videos where we're doing this, we just provide a link from the screen that we want to be encapsulated. So this screen here, this employees list detail screen, is a LightSwitch screen. And what we're saying here is that we're going to wire this to be a modal view. Basically, this is if you're familiar with DevExpress, because this is a DevExpress provider. This is a DX window, and you could actually build other types of windows. So when you look at this, for example, this default view control, this is actually modeled. Sorry, not modeled, but it's actually the default control for a single view layout that we've put in there, and it's based on a DX window. But let's say you wanted it to be a DX dialog. You can just simply make a copy of this, change the control from DX window to DX dialog, and then it would show up in this list here, and you'll be able to pick that. So, and I think the difference between DX dialog and DX window in DevExpress is that the DX dialog inherits from the base of DX window and adds additional an additional area for buttons along the bottom, which would be kind of nice. But in this case here, what we've got here is we've just got a DX window, and then this is the view container, and the view container is just basically standard view container, default view control. So of course you can change this view container and put whatever Chrome you want around your screen. And then so this would be the window, and this would be the Chrome around the screen, and this of course is your LightSwitch screen, and that's kind of how it all wires together. So all we need to do now is just hit run and see what this looks like. Okay, so application comes up, very similar to how we had it before. And we select the Employees tab this time. Notice it was spelt wrong here. And you can see that the screen is coming up. It looks like you could probably do some additional wiring inside the view container itself, or sorry, inside the code for the dialog, to be able to maybe take advantage of space. I notice it doesn't really expand as evenly as it could, but nonetheless, you can see that that is a modal dialog. Modal in the sense that no matter what I select over here, I can't change it. But what's really nice about this is that, so this is a LightSwitch screen, and any LightSwitch screen that you can tie to this, and its full editing capabilities and so forth. You would, in this scenario here, you would need to wire these some commands to a toolbar up here, because obviously if it's modal, you can't save things, right? That would be here. But what you can do is you can edit, and as you can see, this is the inferred edit screen that comes up. And that was add rather, and this is the edit. You can see that it works both ways, so that's kind of cool. Yeah, so in subsequent videos, what we'll do is we'll wire in some full-featured toolbars along the top, so you can see how to take advantage of that. But there's a modal screen, and what we can do is we can easily change that from modal to non-modal. So let's take a look at that. And so if we go over to our toolbox, so we'll select our single view layout control and select properties, and then just pin that back. And all we have to do is change this from true to false and rerun it. And so now what should happen is that when we select the employees list modal, it'll be modeless. You'll be able to navigate to other tabs and so forth. So the view will remain up, and you'll be able to kind of move about your various other tabs and open up screens. In some scenarios, that might be what you'd want to do, but that's really an application design thing. Okay, so now if we open up the employee screen, we can move around now. So as you can see, I can go off of that tab and I can select orders. It's no longer modal, and you can see orders is opening up. Of course, it's always on top. It's considered to be on top, so that's one scenario for sure to be aware of. And so if we go in here now, as we move from tab to tab, you know, you can see that we do have the ability to now change and save and do all sorts of things. This is probably not a practical example per se, but nonetheless it would work. So what we could do is we could share the docking areas now. So we can make this docking area and this docking area one and the same. So let's do that. And that's pretty easy to do. We just go over to here. So we have this fixed docking area that's tied to this employee ribbon tab. So all we need to do is, in fact, delete this. And the easiest way to kind of join it, we're going to join it up with this home docking dock control, so that we have a shared area there. And all you got to do is you can drag a link from the tool, or you can simply just select it from this list here. And you can see it'll add that list, and then if we hit run, see what it looks like. So now, as we go between our tabs, let's say if I open up orders, for example, and then go to employees. And now you can see that as I flip between these two, they share the same docking area. So when I open up employees, as that's opening up, I can seamlessly navigate between the other tabs. And of course, because this one's floating, this screen is floating, it allows us, floating and non-modal, it allows us to kind of, do other things and, keep things moving. And this is kind of like a dialogue. It's really meant as a dialogue control, but you can see that you can, do different things. Now, of course, this one here, you should be able to float it as well. But because this is the considered topmost window, it's always going to be on top. So unfortunately, to get at this window, the proper way to do it would be like something like that. And of course, you can double click and you can make this the full window as we saw before. So there's lots of flexibility in how you can lay out your windows with DockShell and with the specifically with the DevExpress controls. So thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed this short video. Cheers.